Everyone on YouTube. You know, I started the morning off down at the Overlook Park here, that's in Essex, Vermont, to show you parts of the Winooski River that's absolutely raging. The area I was in is not scheduled to flood. The flooding area will be occurring over in Winooski, Vermont, near the Winooski Mill, and before that up on in Essex. So it's called Route 15, and you go through what they call 5 corners, and as you're going towards Winooski, that area there, so and then in Winooski. So and what other areas I'm not sure. However, I did find the latest update. This is WCAX, a news station, a local news station here in Vermont. And I just wanted to read a little bit to you on what they are saying about these different areas, okay, in Vermont. And they have Cheshire, New Hampshire, Sullivan, New Hampshire. That's kind of close to Vermont. It's a little bit south and west of Vermont. But I'm going to just focus on Vermont. So Chittenden, Vermont. This area, the flood warning is extended for the following rivers in Vermont. The Winooski River at Essex Junction. That's what I was showing you this morning on these different clips here and on TikTok clips. Effect in Chittenden County. For the Winooski River, including Moortown, Montpelier, Waterbury, Essex Junction, major flooding is forecast. Now this is today's update, but I can tell you Montpelier is already flooded. The main street is already underwater. That occurred yesterday. Flood warning now in effect until early tomorrow afternoon. So this is dated, this was today, I pulled this up, and there's no date on WCAX page, but it says 13 alerts in effect. So we're going to assume, as I had heard, that warnings were continuing until Wednesday. So this is probably saying early tomorrow afternoon, meaning Wednesday of this week. So today is Tuesday, July 11th. What major flooding is occurring, and major flooding is forecast Winooski River Essex Junction. So they continue that, and then they put some, here we go here. I'm going to give you the details. Impacts. Flooding will continue to be widespread along the Winooski River from Jonesville to Lake Champlain. So that would be up near Lake Champlain is towards... this is going to say Bolton to Williston, so to Lake Champlain till the level drops below 14 feet. Water will continue to cover Route 2 from Bolton to Williston, and Route 117 from Richmond to Essex. Richmond, I also know, is under. They've got flooding over there. That was in the local news this morning. Parts of Richmond. Bridge Street in Richmond, North Williston Road in Williston. That's where I am, and I'm a little close to North Williston Road, but we're not affected by flooding here, and I am on Route 2. So it's parts of the towns that are close to the river that are getting affected. So North Williston Road in Williston and Essex. Poor Farm Road in South Burlington and Williston will remain flooded, and Burlington Intervale will be inundated. So that's right smack in the middle of Burlington. Additional details. At 10:30 a.m. Tuesday, that's today, the stage was 19.7 feet. Bankfull stage is 15 feet. Now in the video that I show you, I accidentally walked very close to the bank. I did not realize the trail, that the water had moved up that close to the trail. So I very quickly, I did turn around and I went back up on the sidewalk up onto the bridge. However, you want to be mindful of the banks, right? Because that's where the water starts to climb first. That's where you're going to see it start spreading. And then when it can't spread out anymore like that and it's swelling, it's cresting, then it breaks. Recent activity, the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 9:30 a.m. EDT Tuesday was 18.8 feet. Forecast, the river is expected to rise to a crest of nearly 20 feet this afternoon. It will then fall below flood stage by tomorrow morning. Flood stage is 12 feet. Flood history, the crest compares to a previous crest of 18.3 feet in April 18, 1982. Okay, now, so that's Chittenden. So, Chittenden, Burlington, Vermont, Essex, South Burlington, Vermont, Winooski. Now we're into Franklin, Vermont. So Franklin, Vermont is more St. Albans area. So, and it will list some of the towns here. So the flood warning for Franklin, Vermont continues for the following rivers in Vermont. The Missisquoi River, if you're up at St. Albans, Fairfax, or Swanton area, you're very familiar with the Missisquoi River. Missisquoi River at East Berkshire, affecting Franklin County. For the Missisquoi River, including North Troy, East Berkshire, Swanton, moderate flooding is forecast. Flood warning now in effect until late tonight. So they're saying moderate in that area. What minor flooding is occurring and moderate flooding is forecast. Where Missisquoi River to East Berkshire. When? Until late tonight. So the impact's at about 13 feet. Widespread flooding of low-lying fields and low-lying roads will occur along Missisquoi and Richford to Enosburg. Now I will tell you, what they're saying there is, and I know because I actually lived in that area in Fairfax, St. Albans area. These fields are like level with the roads already. And the bogs and the little swamps and the little streams that are all in those fields, farming area, are level with the road. So the flooding, they're saying minor flooding, and that's way up north, right? But you want to, in my opinion, be very careful if you see the flooding and you thinking you want to drive through it. You might want to turn around and stay up at the convenience store for a bit and just stay in safe area, because these roads are exactly as they're saying, low lying. They're like flat. So let's see, water will enter the yards of riverside homes in East Berkshire at 14 feet. Widespread flooding of low-lying fields and roadways will occur from Richford to Enosburg. Water will approach Route 118. I'm sorry, here my mouse disappeared on me. It will approach Route 118 at East Berkshire and Route 105 between Enosburg Falls and East Berkshire. Yards will be flooded in East Berkshire at 16 feet. There will be widespread flooding along Missisquoi from Richford to Sheldon. Now, if you know Richford, that's way up near Canada, near Alberg and that area. It's past St. Albans. So water will cover portions of Route 105 between Enosburg Falls and East Berkshire and will approach Route 236 in Sheldon and Route 118 in East Berkshire. There will be extensive field flooding. Additional details at 9:45 a.m. EDT Tuesday. The stage was 13.7 feet. I have seen the field flooding up there, and like 40 years ago, and the results of that were catastrophic for a number of people. So be very, 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 very careful, because you know the fields and it's flat, and you're thinking it's the earth isn't very deep. However, it can be very, it can still cause rushing water, let's put it that way, if it breaks. Recent activity, the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 9:45 Tuesday was 13.7 feet. That's today. Forecast, the river is expected to rise to 14.5 feet by this afternoon. It will then fall below the flood stage late this evening. So this is for Franklin, Vermont. So they're saying minor and moderate flooding, and by this evening things will be a little bit better. Flood stage is at 13 feet. Flood history, this crest compares to a previous crest, 16.5 feet. Oh, as recent as November 2019. Okay, so not too long ago. So now, Lamoille, Vermont. So now we're coming down over a little bit past my area here. We're talking about Jeffersonville. If you know, Jeffersonville is near Cambridge, Vermont, and then up from there is Jericho, and up from there is Essex. So it's like 3 or 4 towns, several towns over from Williston, where I am. So now, Lamoille, Vermont. The flood warning is extended for the following rivers in Vermont. The Lamoille River at Jeffersonville, affecting Lamoille County. For the Lamoille River, including Jeffersonville, major flooding is forecast. Flood warning now in effect until late tomorrow morning. So this is going until late Wednesday. So what they're saying, major flooding is occurring, major flooding is forecast. So currently, as we speak, there is flooding over in Jeffersonville, Vermont. This approaches the flood record. Lamoille at Jeffersonville. When late tomorrow morning, impacts at 447 feet. The Lamoille River will begin to leave its banks around Jeffersonville and downstream through Cambridge Village. Cambridge Village. Okay, I was actually in a flood in Cambridge Village, and it was the scariest. We were right on the edge of it. We just got away from it. It was, if you know how high a cow is, right? So you're talking like 7 feet. The cows were swimming to try to get to higher ground in this water. So on the land, the flood, that was the flood. So that was Cambridge Village. I imagine that area right there in the center, Cambridge, in the greens, right before it starts going uphill over to Jericho. I imagine that area will be prone to flooding. And they're saying right next to Jeffersonville, they're right next to each other. Persons with interest in floodplains such as farmers, campers, seasonal canoe, kayak operators should move their equipment to higher ground. At 450 feet, water will rise to near edge of Route 15 in Cambridge Village at the Wrong Way Bridge. And it's called that because it looks like the Wrong Way Bridge. There will be widespread field flooding from Jeffersonville downstream through Fairfax. So that was my stomping grounds, Fairfax, Vermont. Again, lots of fields from Fairfax over to Cambridge. Water will cover Route 15 in Cambridge Village at the Wrong Way Bridge. Traffic diversions may be necessary. Motorists planning to travel Route 15 through Cambridge should allow for extra time to detour around the flooded roadway. And I might add to that when they talk about detour, you have very little room in some of those areas to actually detour. So, and very little. And not a whole lot of choices of streets, okay? It's like one road. So you definitely want to plan not to be in that area. There will be widespread field flooding from Jeffersonville downstream through Fairfax. At 451 feet and a half, Route 15 in Cambridge becomes impassable. So you're not going to be able to get through. Traffic diversions will be required. Motorists planning to travel Route 15 through Cambridge should allow extra time to detour around the flooded roadway. There will be widespread field flooding from Jeffersonville downstream through Fairfax. At 453 feet, water will begin to enter streets into Jeffersonville. Okay, so it's going from Fairfax, Cambridge to Jeffersonville. Makes perfect sense. Portions of Route 15 between Johnson and Fairfax will begin to flood. So Johnson is right after Jeffersonville. They're all right next to each other. And will begin to flood and businesses along Route 15 in Jeffersonville will flood. Route 15 between Johnson and Fairfax will be inundated. In details at 8:15 a.m. Tuesday, the stage was 455 feet, backfill stage 447 feet. Recent activity, the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 8:15 Tuesday was 455 feet. The river is expected to rise to a crest of 455.7 feet late this morning. So flood stage is 450. So the flooding is, as I said, occurring currently right now as we speak. So that's Lamoille, Vermont. Let's see. Orange, Vermont. Okay, now we're moving down a little bit south here. Wells River, it's south of here. Good amount of south of here. Good amount of time, I should say. Couple of hours. The flood warning is extended for the following rivers in Vermont. Wells River at Wells River affecting Orange County. Flood warning now in effect until this evening. So minor flooding is occurring. Wells River impacts. Water will continue to impact US Highway 302. Okay, so if you know 302, that's the route from Vermont over to Maine, right? So, and that's along Wells River and Groton, South Rygate and Wells River. And low-lying roads and buildings along Wells River may take on water in Groton and South Rygate. And at 9:45 a.m. today, Tuesday, the stage was 7.3 feet. The bankful stage is at 6 feet, so that's well beyond the banks, up over the banks. The maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 9:45 Tuesday was 7.5 feet. Okay, so that's a little bit on Orange County, Vermont. Now, Orleans, Vermont. That includes Barton, Coventry, Lake Memphremagog. Never can say that really good. The flood warning continues for Orleans, Vermont. Rivers in Vermont. Barton River near Coventry affecting Orleans County. The Lake Memphremagog, including Coventry, record flooding forecast remains in effect until further notice. Record flooding is occurring and record flooding is in the forecast. So let's see here. Where? This is Barton River near Coventry. It sounds like that's where the flooding is occurring. When? Until further notice. Impacts are at 8 feet. And it has risen to the stage of 10.3 feet. And this is Maple Street and River Road between Orleans and Coventry Station. That's where the flood is occurring. So that's Orleans, Vermont. And so that's a little bit there. The river is expected to rise to 11.5 feet. That's why they say further notice, because currently they're saying it's at 10.3 feet. So there's a whole nother foot to go there. Okay, so now Rutland, okay, that's a city, that's a pretty big city, if anybody knows Rutland, right? You got the cities here, you got Burlington, Rutland, Montpelier, and then down, Brattleboro, Bennington. But so Rutland, the flood warning is extended also for the rivers. Otter Creek, and if you know Otter Creek, that goes over to Middlebury, which yesterday I heard was already, they were expecting that to break. So let's see if it did. Otter Creek at Center Rutland, affecting Rutland County. For Otter Creek, including Center Rutland, Middlebury, there we go. Major flooding is forecast. Flood warning now in effect until early Thursday. So look, Tuesday, right? That's 3, if you count today, half day. It's 2.5 more days here. What major flooding is occurring? What major flooding is occurring in the forecast? This approaches flood record. And where? Otter Creek to Center Rutland. When? Until Thursday morning. Impacts. Many homes will continue to be affected until flood waters recede. Flood levels will be similar to those in Irene in August 2011. Additional details. 9:45 a.m. Tuesday, the stage was 15.1 foot. Bank full stage is 8 feet. That's 7 feet over. Recent activity, the maximum river stage is in the 24 hours ending 9:45 a.m. Tuesday was 16.54 feet. The river is expected to fall below stage tomorrow evening, so it's Wednesday evening, continuing falling to 6 feet. Flood stage is at 8. So tomorrow evening, it sounds like things will calm down. If any of you are familiar with that Otter Creek, right there, where they're not mentioning this, the impact, maybe because this is an update and they're talking about from today on, but yesterday, as I understood it, right smack there in the middle of Middlebury, that Otter Creek that rages right there. They had that on the news. It sounded like that was going to be flooding area businesses there. Let's see, and then they go to Sullivan, New Hampshire. And we're not looking at New Hampshire today, we're looking at Vermont. So right here, Washington, Vermont. Okay, so this is back up a little bit closer to this area. This is Montpelier, Moortown. So let's read this. Washington, Vermont. The flood warning is extended also for the following rivers. The Winooski River, that's the one I covered, affecting Washington County, including Moortown, Montpelier, Waterbury, Essex Junction. Major flooding is forecast. Flood warning now until late this evening. So till late tonight, Tuesday. Major flooding is occurring, and major flooding is forecast. So it's occurring, as you know, Montpelier's already under, and then it's going to impact up here in Winooski. So where? Winooski River at Montpelier. When? Late this evening. Impacts. Downtown Montpelier will continue to be inundated. Local roads will be covered by water until the level drops below 18 feet. Route 2 and railroad tracks along the river will continue to be covered with water. Widespread field flooding will continue throughout Winooski River Valley. This stage is equivalent to FEMA. And Governor Scott already called FEMA yesterday. People were having to be rescued out of Williamstown, which is, in my opinion, the whole town is built below water level. I used to have to drive through there in snowstorms, and the roads would flood just during the snowstorms. So it's a very scary. Williamstown was one of the first up near central Vermont here to be under, along with Montpelier. Tuesday, the stage was 21 feet, and bankful stage is at 15 feet. So recent activity, the maximum river stage in the last 24 hours ending at 9:45 a.m. Tuesday was 21.4 feet. The forecast, the river is expected to fall below flood stage late this afternoon and continue falling 6.8 feet early Friday morning. Wow. So see, this is why they say the flood warning for Washington, Vermont is extended. It's extended, and we're talking through Thursday and Friday. that they're saying these levels will come down. So, and we're just on Tuesday. So this looks like the last bit here is Windham County. So Windham, Vermont is, this is way south off the highway is Windsor and Cheshire counties. So if you know that area, I'm trying to think of what exit that is. It's way down. Maybe it will tell us here. Observed flooding changed to minor severity and increased duration for the following rivers in New Hampshire, Vermont, and the Connecticut River. Yeah, so this is near the Connecticut River. At North Walpole, affecting Sullivan, Windsor, Windham, and Cheshire counties. The flood warning is extended for the following rivers in Maine: New Hampshire, Saco River at Conway, affecting Carroll, Oxford, and Cumberland counties. Maybe you know where those are. I'm not familiar with those particular counties. Conticook River at Henniker, affecting Hillsborough and Merrimack counties. Sugar River at West Clermont, affecting Sullivan County. Flood warning now in effect until this evening. What? Minor flooding. Where? Connecticut River at North Walpole. Okay, so they've repeated that a few times. That's an area to watch out for. Connecticut River rages even with just a little rain, so I can't even imagine right now. When? Until this evening. Impacts 28 feet. Minor flooding affects low-lying areas along the river from Walpole to Westminster downstream to Massachusetts border. That's a little bit ways from Windsor, so that's quite a ways there. Portions of the low-lying roads along the river are affected, including Route 5, some adjacent businesses in Westminster. Farming interests along the river could experience flooding. Additional details at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday. The stage was 28 feet. Recent activity, the maximum river in the 24 hours ending at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday was 28.2 feet. So the forecast, the river is expected to fall below flood stage late this morning and continue falling until to 18.1 feet Thursday evening. Keep your eyes open for the forecast, as Thursday I understood we were supposed to get more rain. Not sure where we're at there. However, this is good news overall that these flood stages are starting to come down. But any of these areas, if you know people, if you're traveling through these areas, you definitely want to be extra careful. There are roads and different areas that will be affected that are close to these rivers. So you have a beautiful day, and I hope that this helps.